Hello, hi, it's Henry the Computer Guy, and welcome to our lesson number 48. And in today's lesson, we are actually going to be looking at how we can customize our word processing working environment. Remember, I told you that for you to be able to produce better or good looking documents, you have to be at least familiar with some of the key tasks in a word processor. So they're telling us that before you begin creating documents, ensure that you have set up your Word environment and become familiar with a few key tasks such as, that means that you have to be able to minimize and maximize the ribbon. You have to be able to customize or configure the quick access toolbar. So you have to be able to use the ruler. You'll have to be able to use the word counting, and you'll have to be able to use the zooming tool. So all those ones combined will help you to at least be able to create good looking documents. So as we continue, we have an activity, and that is 4.2, which is all about setting a word processing environment. That means that we have to set our word environment or word processing environment such that we can produce better and good looking documents. And we are going to begin with customizing the quick access toolbar. So what is the quick access toolbar? Remember, we talked about it earlier, and we say that it contains a set of commands that are independent of the tab on the ribbon that is currently displayed. So all the commands we add onto the quick access toolbar will always stay. Even if we are on another tab, they will always stay and we access them with ease. And by the way, you can add them and even remove them. That means that you can add something there or a command there. If you feel you don't want it again, you can actually remove it from there. So let's see how we can use or customize the quick access toolbar. So they are telling us that click the arrow to the right of the quick access toolbar. We shall see that in the diagram. And they're telling us that select the command you want to add from the drop-down list. It will appear on the quick access toolbar. And that is the diagram we're actually having. So you're seeing our office button in the corner, then we have our quick access toolbar. Then the arrow they have talked about is close to the quick access toolbar. So when you click on it, you'll be able to find some of the options you can add there to the quick access toolbar. So we are going to be actually using our link to open a document and try it out. So when we open our document, it will open like that. Of course, in the corner we have the quick access toolbar and the office button, which is here. So we can come and start customizing our quick access toolbar. But remember, we have found some items there. So if you find something you don't want there, you can right click on it and remove it. Right click, remove. Right click, remove. Right click, remove. Right click and remove. So if you find that you're actually done with removing some of the commands there, you can add those ones that you feel you want. So you will come to that arrow they have told us. Then look for what you want to add there. For example, I want to add new. It comes. I want to add, let's say, open. It comes. I want to add, let's say, quick print. It comes. I want to add the preview. It will come. Just like that. Or if you feel those ones are not enough, down here we have some other options. You can come to any option you feel you want to add, right click on it and say add. Let's underline, right click, add. Let's say I want, let's say the shading, I can right click on it and say add. So they will always be going to it. If you want, you can remove some of them. That is actually how we can customize our quick access toolbar. So I'm going to close this one, then we continue with our work. And we have another one, which is minimizing and maximizing the ribbon. You might be in need of, let's say, maximizing or minimizing your ribbon. We're going to see how we can actually do that. So let's say they're telling us that right click anywhere in the main menu. Then select the minimize the ribbon. In the menu that appears, it will toggle the ribbon on and off. That means that you're going to try that procedure and see whether we can either minimize or maximize our ribbon. And we have our diagram there. So it can show down here that if someone is trying to minimize the ribbon. Let's also try that one out and see whether we can come up with that. So when we open our document again, let's say we come to any menu. Let's say I come to onto the menu or the tab. I can right click on it and say minimize ribbon. You see, it is going to disappear. So if I want it again back, I will click on any of the tabs or on the menu and say maximize. Then it comes back. So that is how we can minimize and maximize our ribbon. Let's continue. And they're telling us that we have another one, which is customizing the status bar. How can we customize the status bar? So they're telling us that right click anywhere on the status bar. After, select the item you would like to appear on your status bar as you work from the pop-up menu. Then that is the diagram that actually shows us. Remember, down here is where we have what we call the status bar. We explained all these in the beginning of this lesson. So after you right click here, you'll add, or you'll be able to add anything that you feel you want to appear onto that status bar. We are also going to try this one using our link, or the link to our document that we created earlier. So when we click there, it takes us to our document. So that is it that we are having. We are going to customize the status bar. So we come down onto the status bar down here. You right click. Then when you right click, you can select any of these that you want to appear. For example, I want the overtype. I will click on it. It comes down here as the insert. Let's say I can even remove some of them. I want to add the columns. The columns will come. Let's say I want to remove the page numbers. The page number go away. I want to remove the line number. The line number goes away. I want to remove the column. So you can uncheck them. First of all, I can uncheck all of them. They go away. Then I can start adding those ones that I feel like. I want the page number. I want the line number. I want the word count. I want the column. So you see them appearing onto our status bar. That is actually what we have. So we can now close this one and continue with our lesson. And we are having saving an MS Word document. How can we save a document? Or how can we save our document? So what does saving mean? So saving is the process of storing a document in a certain location or creating a file. For example, I can be having my document. I want to put it on a flash disk. So I can save it onto my flash disk. So they are telling us that this can be done on a newly created document or on an already existing document. Therefore, saving is normally in two categories, the save and the save as. But what is the difference? We're going to see the difference between save and save as. So when saving for the very first time, save and save as behave the same way. They both prompt for the file name and the location. So if you haven't saved the document on your computer or anywhere, if you click either save or save as, they will give you the same item. For example, they will ask you for the file name and the location where you want to save your document. So they will be treated in the same way, either save or save as. Then they are telling us that click on the Office button, save, then click on save as, then type the file name and choose the location, then click on the word save. That means that it will help you to save your document in that way. Otherwise, save and save as behave differently on an existing document. So if you already created the document, let's say yesterday or let's say some hours back, and you click either save and save as, that one will do somehow different, or they will work in a different way. And let's try and see how we can save our document. For example, let's try this link here. This is our document that we are having. For example, they have told us that we click on the Office bar button, then we come and look for either save or save as. Remember, we haven't saved this, or if you, for example, if you have saved the document before, they will do in a different way. But if you haven't saved it, then it will actually behave the same way. So if you have not saved the document for or in any location, it will actually ask you for the location and the file name. All of them will ask you for that. But if you saved it, that means that they will act in a different way. That is it actually. That's where we shall be able to find our save and save as. Let's continue with our lesson. So let's get the difference between save and save as. So they're telling us that save, this is a command used when saving changes made on an existing document without changing the file name and location. You already created your work, you want to add in some information there, then save it, you'll have to use the word save. Are we really getting this? They're telling you that if, for example, you created that document and saved it for the first time, so you come and add in some other information, you will use the save as. So it will keep on updating that similar file. So it will not ask you for the file name and location again. It will keep on adding in that existing document. Now, when we continue, they're telling us that the save as, this is a command used when making a copy of a file in a different folder or making a copy with a different name. You might be having you might have saved your work on a computer, but you also want to save it in another location or in another storage somewhere. For example, you have a flash, but you have saved the work on the computer. You can use the save as. It will give you options of where you can look for the location and add another file name. I think we have got the difference. So they're telling us that also click on the office button, then you can click on save as. Type file name, choose the location, and click on the word save. So save and save as, they will do differently if, let's say, the file is already existing. But if you're doing it for the first time, then they will all behave in the same way. We continue. And we have an activity. It is all about saving a file. So this is going to be your trial. So they're telling you that saving a document with a file name ncdc in my documents location. That means that you're going to look for that location and save a file name or a document with a file name ncdc. That will be your file name. Open Microsoft Word program. We saw how we can open that. Then on the office button, you're going to select the save or save as. Then you can select either you can click on the desktop as the location to save. Then give the file name as ncdc. Remember, the question is saying in my document, but here I've said desktop. It doesn't mean that we only save on the desktop or we only save in documents. You can always change the location depending on your question or what you exactly want. Then we have a tip. Save your file immediately after creating it to prevent the possibility of losing it later due to power failure. So you always advise to always save your document from the start, such that even if power goes off, you can at least have somewhere you can begin from. Remember, whenever you're typing, information is stored on temporary memory, that is the RAM. If you haven't saved it, it is always saved on random access memory. And if power goes off, then everything will go off. So you're always advised to save your work immediately to avoid those inconveniences. We continue. And we have another activity which is 4.4, working with text. So they're telling us that type some text in your text area of about 4 paragraphs to help you practice word processing skills. Press enter key on the keyboard to get to the next line. So whenever you want to go to the next line, you'll have to press the enter button such that it takes you to the next line. You've been typing on, let's say, a line, you want to go to the next line, you press the enter key or the return key. Then selecting text. How can we select our text? So they're telling us that move your insertion point next to the text you want to select. Then left click, and while holding down, drag the mouse over the next text you want to select. That means that you put your cursor where you want to begin from, then you hold it and move it to the direction you want to select. Then release the mouse button, you will have selected the text. And they're telling us that a highlighted box will appear over the selected text. Let's try that one. That means that we are going to be seeing how we can specifically type and go to the next line and how we can select our text. So let's open a document and we are having, let's say, I'm writing some information here. Let's say I'm typing this. Let me type, this is my first time to type in a word processor. This is my first time to type in a word processor. For example, I want to go to the next line. I'll press enter. Then let's say it is, let's say, Henry the computer guy. So if these things are of these words are not all that visible, I told you we can as well increase the size such that they can become bigger. You see, we go on changing. Then, for example, I can change the style of the font, which is Times New Roman. You know, I always love that one. Can look good. Now, for example, if you want to try using either the save, you will come here, you click on the save, or you want to use the save as. Remember, we already saved it as working with text, but I can save it with another name. I can come and say save as. It will tell me to look for the location and add the name. I'll say, for example, desktop. Then I'll write the name of the document. Then I'll click on the word save. So it will go to the desktop. If you wanted to save it in the document, you'll click on the documents. Then give it a name. If you want to select on, let's say, local disk D, select local disk D, write the file name, then you come and click on the word save. That is exactly how you can do the saving. Then, how can we highlight the text? Remember, they have told us that we put our cursor close to what we want to highlight. Then we hold our left button and move the cursor. For example, I want to highlight Henry the computer guy. It is Henry the computer guy. I'll click at the list, then I'll hold my left button, then I'll move my cursor to the left. So I can now make the changes, make it, let's say red. I can make it bold. I can even try to increase the size to 20 something. So just know that whenever you want to make any change on any item, you have to select it first. Then it will be able to accept what you want to change. For example, if I'm down here and I've not, let's say, made any selection, you see that some of these actions are inactive. So that means that you have to select a word, for example, guy, and these actions are going to be active. Let me close it and we continue. Let me say I save it. We continue. And they're telling us inserting text anywhere in your text. So they're telling us that move your mouse to the location where you want the text to appear in the document. Then left click the mouse, then the insertion point appears. So you'll go and click where you want to insert the text, then actually type the text you want to appear. And even we can also talk about the deleting of the text. So place your cursor next to the text you want to delete. That is obvious. Then press the backspace key on your keyboard to delete the text to the left of the cursor. Press the delete key on your keyboard to delete the text to the right of your cursor. We are also going to try this one out. Let's click on the link of our document and we see how we can do that. Inserting text anywhere. For example, I want to insert some text in between this word. Let's say it is Henry the computer guy. So I want to add, let's say, a word, let's say John. Or I can add anything, let's say trying. if I want to add triangle. So I will click in that area, then I write the word I want to add. So I've inserted some text between the word there and computer guy. Then they have told us that if you want to, let's say, delete text, let's say to the left of the cursor, you're going to use the backspace. Now you see I'm rubbing this information. Undo. Let's say I want to, let's say, rub information to the right of the cursor. I'll use the delete button. That means that it erases characters to the right. Then if I I use the backspace, it erases characters to the left. This one erases characters to the right. You see, that is how we can delete our text. Are we together? So if I decide to erase characters to the left, I use the backspace. Henry is being rubbed. If I want to remove this word guy, I'll use the delete button because the text is on the right of the cursor. I will use the delete button or option. So that is actually how we can go about it. Let me not save. I want that text to be there. We continue. And we see how we can copy and paste some information or text. For example, they are telling us that select the text you want to copy, then click the copy command on the home tab. Place the cursor where you want to, or we want the text to appear. Then click on the word paste command on the home tab. It is actually at the beginning here, below the office button. So you will copy and paste in any location. They're telling us that we have a tip. Highlight text before applying any formatting on it. Remember, I told you that if you want to make any change on any text, you first have to highlight it. Let's try copying and pasting. So we have this word now. It is Henry the computer guy. I want to now copy this. That means that I first of all have to select. So I'm going to select my sentence as this. After selecting it, I'll come to the home tab. Then these options are going to be active. Remember, if I've not selected it, these options are not active. So I'll first highlight them. This is it. After highlighting, then I will click on copy. That means that that information is stored on a clipboard. Remember, we said that a clipboard is an area in memory that holds, let's say, either the copied or cut text. So after copying it, I will go and click in a location where I want that text to appear. Let's say down below here. I will click there. Then I will come on to my word. For example, it is here. Remember, I've said we first of all select it. Then we come to the copy and click on that copy. Shortcut for copy is Ctrl+C. Then I'll go to the location where I want to paste that information. Let me say I want it below. Then I'll come back to my paste. I can paste it multiple times so long as I copied it already. I can paste it multiple times. That is the copying and pasting. I can decide even to copy this one, which is up. I'll highlight it. Then I'll come to my copy. Then I click in between these two words. Then I can paste it there. Remember, copying makes a duplicate. Then putting it in another location you want, you use the paste. I can paste it multiple times also. That is it. So let me close this one and we continue. I'm not going to save. Let me save it, okay, such that the text remains there. We continue. And we have what we call the page layout. So what does page layout mean? The page layout function lets you decide how each page will be set out. For example, when it is printed, how will it look like? That is what we call the page layout. All along, you have been using the default setting of your word processor because we have not been changing any page layout. We have been using the default settings. You are now going to learn how to change these settings to suit your document requirements. In this or in the next set of activities, you will learn how to change the margins, document orientation, use of the columns in your document, as well as adjust the line spacing of the text. Are we together? We continue. And we have an activity that is telling us that activity 4.5, changing the page orientation. And they're telling us that open the page with the text on it, select the page layout tab, then click on the orientation command in the page setup group. Then left click either the portrait or the landscape to change the page orientation. So you can decide to choose any of the two. And that is the diagram. So that means that we are going to be going on to what we call the page layout. Then on the page layout, we shall be able to choose the orientation. Let's try that one out. So when I come here on my document, I'll click on this, then I'll come to the page layout, then I'll come and choose, for example, the orientation, and this is how it appears. So in orientation, we have two types of orientation. We have the portrait and the landscape. That means that in portrait, it is taller than it is wide, and under landscape, it is wider than it is tall. Are we seeing the difference? Taller than it is wide, wider than it is tall. So that means that whenever you click in this, it will change your page to be in a landscape form. If you want it as portrait, remember by default, it's always on default as portrait. So you can always decide to change it to any orientation that you want. Let's continue. Close this one and we continue. I'm not going to save. We continue. And we have another one, setting the margins. We are going to be setting the margins. They're telling us that the margins of the document determine the amount of text area for your document. So to change the margins, you're going to select the page layout tab. Then you'll be able to go to the margin command, or a menu of options will appear. So it is either normal, or normal is selected by default, and left click the predefined margin size you want to use. So that is the diagram. When we go to the page layout, we shall come and click on the margins. Then, of course, by default, normal is going to be selected, but you can go on changing this as we are going to be looking at it. Let's try it and see how it looks like. So when you come here, let's make it smaller. When we come to the page layout, we'll come to the margins. Then when you come to the margins, of course, by default, at times it is always on normal. So you can as well change these ones to other options as we are going to be seeing. That is how you can change the margins. We continue. I'm not going to save this again. And we continue. So they're telling us we have another activity which is 4.6, setting up the margins. And you can also change the page margins by clicking on the custom margins from the menu. The page setup dialog box will appear, then from which you use the arrow or directly type the desired margin sizes. Are we together? And that is how the diagram will appear. So if you click on the custom, it will take you to this location. Then you can either put in the values that the question wants you, or the margins that you want to put in. Let's try it and see how it works. So when I click on our link to our document, this is how it will look like. And when I come to the page layout, remember we said it is in page layout, we come to the margins, then we come down to custom. So when I click on the custom, it will give me some other options that we have here. So we have the margins, then you can put top, let's say bottom, left, then right, then the gutter. Of course, the gutter will be that space left, let's say if you're going to be binding your document, you can leave a space that can be taken by the spirals. So we use that one as the gutter. And it is either on top or on the left. This space that they always leave at the end here. Let me, for example, if I increase it, that space that is going to be used by the spirals, or when we are binding our book or our document, is what it is. Or it's what we'll be taking the gutter. So if they don't talk about it, you can leave it to 0. Or you can also well be changing the margin the way you want. That is it specifically. I'm not going to save also. So it's been Henry the Computer Guy, and thank you for watching. And I urge you to please subscribe to my channel and share the link to other people who actually need this content. I sign out. Bye bye. See you in the next video.